work, leader of the project and the design and make it work really nice. And so, oh, sorry.
Yes. What is your name? Robin. Diane lives in Drummond. Oh, okay. We have neighbors. Oh, okay. And Lisa, you guys are all? Yeah, Lisa. I don't know that. The cherries get green. Hi. She's got the honey cherry. What is that guy? This is Mike. He's being assassinated again.
I am calling the special meeting of Town of Gibsons Council to order November 19th, 2024 at 1 p.m. And we're honored to be gathered here on the traditional territories of the Skokomish Nation. First, we need to approve the agenda. Moved by Councillor Kroll, seconded by Councillor DeAndrade. All those in favor? The agenda has been approved. Yeah, so that's their minutes of November 5th, 2024 need to be adopted. Moved by Councillor Kroll, seconded by Councillor DeAndrade. All those in favor? The motion carries. And now we are on to our main item of business of this meeting, which is the temporary use permit applications for the residential guest accommodations for this coming year and perhaps longer, to the discretion of council. That's in the report on the term, and I have consulted with staff on this, and we determined everything is really in the report. We're familiar with this process now. We did it we did it a couple of years ago. So I'll just put it to council first to ask any questions on the report of staff. And for anyone in the public who's here to speak, we will have an opportunity for that. Councillor DeAndrade. Are there general questions about the process first rather than any kind of specific properties? I'll just ask that of anyone first. Okay, Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor. With the TUPs, is there any, so we're addressing the period of that TUP. Is there any limits on how often the TUPs can be renewed?
Go to staff.
Through you, Mayor. Yeah, thank you for the question. Temporary use permits are a power given to the municipality by the province through the Local Government Act, and TUP can be issued once and renewed once. So after that, the intent is that it's temporary and should be addressed through zoning beyond that.
Other general questions? Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. So we are in the second renewal. So this would be the final without a change to zoning.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Thank you.
General questions on the report? Okay. Now, if we're going to be having any specific questions about properties, just keep in mind we're open to feedback as well, or we're open to public comment on those. If we're going to be getting into some of the public comments, some of the input, let's wait until we've had an opportunity for all of any verbal input as well. But do you have something on?
Well, perhaps.
Andrade?
Thanks, Mayor. Perhaps this could be a general question. Since the last report, if the town has received any complaint?
Through you again, Mayor. It's my understanding that we received one additional complaint since the last report. I think we reported 2 in February, and we had 3. And any of the comments in the letters received from neighbors are not included as complaints.
Okay, we might need to, can we get more specifics on that complaint? I mean, even if the nature of it, I don't know.
Yes, it's my understanding it was a noise complaint, but in a public forum, we couldn't discuss particulars of a bylaw complaint.
Okay, we know it's a noise complaint. Any other questions? Okay, so the way I'd like to handle these is there is one new application. As we've seen, we have received some input on that. I'd like to deal with that one first separately. It might, we'll give people opportunity to speak to it separately, and we'll vote on that separately, and then we'll go to all the renewals. Councillor Kroll.
Thank you, Mayor White. And I guess this would be a general question for staff. It was my understanding when the bylaw was drafted that if short-term rentals are to occur in strata-titled properties, it has to be with the approval of the strata.
Okay.
Okay,
So
just
we're
to
right.
confirm that.
We're right into this, but we do need. I've got to go to Councillor Lumley first before we get into this one.
I'm going to have to recuse myself from the discussion of this one because
Yeah.
I have a pecuniary interest,
In that,
indirectly, but still, I'm gonna step out.
in the building. Okay, thank you. Well, just wait. Okay, thank you, Councillor Lumley. We'll let you know when we're finished this matter. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Properties that are part of a strata require that we have a strata form that needs to be filled out and authorized by the strata to receive a business license. So this particular property, I think it was addressed very lightly in the report. If the temporary use permit were issued, they would still need authorization to get their business license from the strata. And sorry, if I may add, the applicant was aware of that when they applied for the temporary use permit.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, it would certainly help our case, I think, to have that approval, whether it's technically needed for this process or for the business license. I think it would, council may well say we need it for this and we don't have it. Like, we've even got some input saying that the strata does not approve it. I don't know if a strata has formally been, do we know if a strata council has formally been officially formed for this building yet?
Thank you. I could only, I believe it has, but I wouldn't feel comfortable giving that in context.
Okay. I mean, we do have some input saying that apparently the strata is opposed to it. Clearly, at least a couple of the other owners that we've received input from are opposed. Councillor Kroll.
Thank you, Mayor White. I think it would make sense. Maybe we need some clarification in the bylaw that, because there are other properties in town that are strata complexes, and there may be occasion where people want to rent their unit out as a residential guest accommodation, that they would have to have approval of the strata prior to even applying for the TUP. Applying for a TUP and then going back to the strata just doesn't make sense.
True. This may be the last time we do this, so we're changing our zoning bylaw. Most of these renewals, it's the last time they can be renewed. I don't think, my impression from council is we're not going to continue this process on beyond the zoning bylaw amendment that's coming in the next year. So if we may change our minds, but I don't, I think that would actually, I don't see council doing that because we've got these temporary use permits are on their the last time they can be renewed, and we need to figure out a different direction on this. That's what we're doing in our zoning bylaw amendment update in the next year. But back to this one address. Does anyone else have any comments on it, concerns about it? I'll say we've seen so far. There's some letters that have come in opposed to it. There's a precedent of council. I mean, we don't have to go by precedent here, but there was on South Fletcher Road, just right close to us here. There was another instance of applications being made for new builds in condominiums, and council denied those. Just wanted to provide that for context. And I think we do have written input here, and everybody's read the written input. But for this one address, which is number 101-263 Gower Point Road, I'd like to extend the opportunity for anyone here in council chambers from the public to comment on this with one more time. This is number 101-263 Gower Point Road. Okay. But we need you in the mic though, because we've got people online.
I can talk loud. I'm not sure if this is relevant or not, but I know that developer was trying to rent that suite out and couldn't. I think it was 5,000. So now that he's come to, yes. Yes.
So was trying to rent it too. Definitely was trying to sell it.
He was trying, exactly.
So there,
he was trying to sell it. It didn't sell.
Yeah.
He was trying to rent it.
Okay.
It didn't. And now it's Airbnb.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
saying.
Okay. Thanks for that information. Yeah, I think
I follow those things.
we definitely know that the owner was trying to sell it. They were all the one right next door did sell, and the person who owns it is clearly not excited about the idea of being next door to a short-term rental in their input. Councillor Kroll?
I was just going to say, in light of the fact that our bylaw requires them to have approval of the strata, I would suggest that this be deferred to a later date.
I think we need to make a decision on these.
Then I would move
I'll go to staff on this, but I'm going to push for a decision personally.
If council is concerned about the condition, rather than delaying the decision, it could also be a subject to, so the TUP could be authorized subject to receipt of strata authorization. So staff wouldn't issue the TUP unless that was received as a condition within a time period, maybe.
Okay, so we've got written input here. We've extended. What are we waiting for, though? Really, I mean, for this, are we the strata to make the call? Because it sounds like the strata is not keen on it. So, could I entertain a motion to either authorize or deny this application first? And if we don't get there, maybe we do need to defer it. Are people prepared to? Okay, Councillor Kroll.
In light of the correspondence we've had with respect to this unit and the fact that it hasn't complied with the bylaw, I would suggest we not approve it.
Okay, seconded by Councillor DeAndrade. All those in favor? All those opposed? That motion carries. And can we get Councillor Lumley? Okay, and now we're going to look at all the renewals, and I'd like to just kind of approach those as a block, though we can certainly pull some for discussion. Councillor Thompson?
Based on the statement I made previously, I'm going to have to recuse myself from this portion.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we're looking at the 25 renewal applications. So these are all pre-existing temporary use permits. We do have some written correspondence on some of these that council has read. I think, does anyone have any?
This one never had any complaints. So I think these are the ones that have.
Yeah, we have some written input that maybe we should kind of discuss, but let's get the public input first too, so then we can consider it all. First I want to ask, I know that there are some operators here who would certainly want to, if need be, talk about how you're operating your RGA. But I think council's generally prepared to renew unless there are some concerns from. I think that's fairly, we've supported these operations before. There are some written input we've received. If anyone wants to respond to those, I extend that opportunity. I don't know if everybody here has seen what council has on our agenda, though, in the written input. But first, I want to ask if anyone is here to express any concerns about any of the RGAs. It concerns, I know why you're here. I recognize you. But if anyone has any concerns, let's bring those out first, and then we can do that specific address. Okay, seeing none, we still want to go through one by some of the addresses that we might want to, anyone does want to address. And I see 709 Steinbrunner is, there was a written concern that came in, a written complaint. And I'll open that one up for anyone who wants to talk about that address. So come on up and please identify yourself and you can speak to this. Yeah, please.
Sorry,
press
Mike
the button.
Norton,
Yeah.
with regards to 709 Steinbrunner. I've read Gregory Stewart's letter, and I just wanted to bring to the attention of you guys that I've come and spoken to Sue Booth, the bylaw officer. This same fellow, in the summertime, I have a 4 and a 6-year-old daughters, and I have an upcoming boy coming in April. We were over here in the summer, and the same fellow assaulted my daughter with a hose. The girls were seen through the fence, and the same fellow, because he shouted at them to be quiet during the day, probably around 10 a.m. because they were jumping on the trampoline, came over. They poked their eye through the hole, sprayed. I did not proceed with assault charges because that is assault on a person. I just left it there. But I did go over and speak to the actual homeowner. Gregory is the brother-in-law of Paul, and during, I think it was in August, our entire fence was leaning over, but I went and I spoke to Paul with regards to, hey, your leaning fence. Since then, I brought over a contractor, I paid for the fence, we fixed it, we've brought it all up to code. I spoke to Paul, he was in great spirits with me and him get along great. I since then have only rented out to families. I still have that, the noise monitor during. I get a notice and I'll just read this one. from a guest that happened in the Labor Day long weekend. One minor thing to mention, your neighbor behind took issue with our kids playing on the trampoline at 9:15 Saturday morning. Nothing untoward whatsoever on our end, just 5, 3, and 2-year-old playing Big Bad Wolf. They yelled over to stop making noise. We diffused the situation and ensured we kept quietish in the yard moving forward. Honestly, seemed a bit strange thing to say to 3 young kids at a reasonable time in the morning, but we kept the peace. Other than that, this day was awesome. Thank you. Long story short was, we have young kids, and I would rather my kids be playing on the trampoline in the backyard than sitting in front of a TV. I've never, ever had any noise complaints past 5, 6 o'clock. And when I told Sue about the assault, and when I told Sue about this complaint, she said that she was going to file a police complaint to this actual fellow. So I think it's a matter of him with unreasonable expectations of children playing in the backyard. And I hope that in light of my family being accepted over here, that you guys approve my renewal. And I appreciate all your time today. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Is there anything from staff?
Sorry, Mayor, I'm just concerned that bylaw isn't here to speak for themselves with,
We know. But I mean, thanks, Mike. But yeah, I mean, council accepts that this isn't like straight from bylaw. I do want to say though too that we've received, I think, one letter of complaint from the same property owner, and on behalf of council, on behalf of the community, I tend not to take sides on bylaw complaints, neighbor complaints, but on this, I'm quite unsympathetic to somebody who doesn't like children in their neighborhood, doesn't like kids playing on trampolines. I'm not sympathetic to that at all, and I've let them know that. And it doesn't matter if they're visiting kids or kids who live there. We welcome families and children in the town of Gibsons, and I just want to make that very clear. And we'll make it clear to the complaints that we may continue to get from this person. It's really unfortunate, and it's unfortunate that this neighborly conflict is happening. And yeah, but that's where we're at with it. I agree that it's unreasonable to complain about kids playing in your neighbor's yard at 9:15. That's totally unreasonable. Councillor Lumley.
I mean, I guess through the mayor, I guess this could have, I don't know if this could have been a general one, but when you read some of these letters, parking comes up quite a bit. And I know that planning department had followed up and said in one of them that they were working on the parking. I just wondered, is that a general, from planning, is that generally, are they somebody, because parking's an issue with, it doesn't matter if it's an STR or if it's a shop or a restaurant, we're challenged with parking, but there's a conscious effort by planning to go out and work on any parking conflicts or challenges that may exist? Is that the general rule?
Yeah, thanks for raising that. I know Councillor DeAndrade's got a bit of a list of some of the ones that we might want to parse out for discussion, and I think Wells Lane was one of the ones. It looks like there's a resolution's being worked on. There was another one though. Headlands. I didn't see that. I think there was one on Gower Point that was more the parking behind on Persephone Lane. Was that the Beachcomber Lane? Yeah. Could we, just following up on Councillor Lumley's comments, we did see that there's a solution being worked on for Wells Lane, but is there anything that can be done for the concerns on Beachcomber Lane?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that particular complaint. Is that it's in the, sorry, I can read up on that. But each, for the business license, each unit needs to provide one parking space for each bedroom in the unit. Provide a parking plan, and it can include on-site spaces, or where there is on-street parking available, it can be provided on-street. And lanes, I believe we don't allow for parking on lanes in general in the town. So if there's an issue, that would come to bylaw, and we would work through a resolution of meeting their parking plan. Would you like me to speak to the Wells Lane piece as well, or?
Does anyone need that? I mean, I think it looks like it's working on the resolution, so I think that's what I think we're satisfied with that. Did anyone want to discuss that parking concern on Beachcomber anymore? Councillor DeAndrade?
Thank you, Mayor. It's just a clarification from what our staff said, because in the letter that we received, it says that 316 have parking signs on Periwinkle Lane for multiple parking spots. So just want a clarification, because it says here, but I'm not sure.
Go to Councillor Kroll.
Yeah, I used to live in Periwinkle Lane. It's a lovely place to live, handy to downtown. But it is challenging because there's restaurant parking, there's real estate office parking, there's condominium parking, and then if people are operating a short-term rental and there's extra vehicles, it's awkward. So, and it's a narrow lane. I know through planning with some of the development that's occurring in Periwinkle Lane, we're trying to get easements to be able to widen it. But the biggest problem with Periwinkle Lane is in the event of an emergency, if there's vehicles clogging it, it is problematic. So I think it's going to be a case of bylaw, just having to work with some of these operators to ensure that they are providing proper, clear, marked off-lane parking, because there isn't lane parking per se in that lane.
Yeah, and I mean, the way it looks and sounds to me, and just, walking down there and being familiar with it, I think it's just, like you say, Councillor Kroll, it's an awkward lane for parking anyway, no matter why those cars are in those spots. It's not like they're going to be empty spots. They're going to be they're going to have cars in them, one way or the other. So yeah, I think maybe there's other solutions to look at rather than denying a request here. Because are there any, Councillor DeAndrade, you've been taking notes on some of the, I kind of roughly have too, on some of the input we've received. I mean, I saw something, a concern about School Road and the one on School Road, and wondering, I mean, to me, that's a newer build, and I drive by there multiple times a day. I'm sure everybody does, and it looks well lived in. Like, it does seem people are living there. It's not. It doesn't seem like, and there's been no complaints about it that I'm aware of these few complaints we've received. So there was somebody brought that up, but I don't. That one doesn't jump out at me as a something that would be worth denying. Councillor Kroll.
Thank you, Mayor White. I'm prepared to, approve the whole block. What I would suggest is that the operators do make it clearer, if possible, to their potential clients that parking is a problem in the community, and that they respect, and try and ensure that they are using the designated parking spots for the units. Because it's difficult for Sue, with the number of units around town, to have to police every one of them every day to make sure people are parking properly. So I'd like to see, the operators take a little more of that responsibility.
So maybe, I mean, we will be sending letters out for these approvals, I assume. So maybe that could be mentioned in the letter, just to ensure. And there might be some other some other key points that we always bring up that we should always kind of underline in the letter. Councillor DeAndrade?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a clarification. We have a letter that there's a complaint about noise after, during silent hours, which usually is challenging, right? Because the bylaw officer is not working. So I would like just a better understanding, and it would be also great for the public to have better understanding how do they address that, because one of the ways that at least this resident said, they went to talk to the people, but it has repeated. I mean, we don't have a bylaw officer here, or maybe they have not done any complaint, but how do we deal with situations of reoccurring and we're not supposed to call the bylaw at midnight or 1 a.m? What do we do in this case? Do we call? How do we measure?
I think there's an answer for that. I'll go to planning.
Yeah, through you, Mayor. It's probably worth making a complaint in the morning when there is bylaw on site, and and then communication can be had with the operator about managing it in the future.
Noise complaints can be made to the RCMP too, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we should make that really clear as well, because that can be at any time. Yeah, and then, I mean, even if it's, they'll have that on record as well. And then do they share those records with bylaw then if it's a bylaw that's being infracted?
I'm sorry, I don't know that answer. Okay. I'm watching for a text to come in telling me so, but.
Okay. But that's, we did get, I mean, I read one letter that kind of, it spoke generally of noise complaints, but there was only one that was really specifically mentioned, I thought, in that one instance. And I mean, we do need to get the message out to people who are concerned about RGAs, or I mean, we don't even know if that might have been the owners who were there that day. That might have been relatives. It might have been, we don't know, but people do need to register their complaints by law enforcement or the RCMP, and if they kind of just come up when renewals come up, there's not a lot we can do about them. I mean, unless maybe if there's multiple ones, but this one seemed to mention one, so that's not enough for to reject one. I don't think, unless we had actual registered complaints with our bylaw enforcement and RCMP over a period of time. Any others? Any other feedback to talk about? We got a couple very thoughtful, well-articulated letters, just kind of expressing concerns about RGAs in general, and I appreciated those. And people who are expressed their opposition to any unhosted units, for example. The town, a council has decided to grant TUPs in the past to some of the unhosted ones, and those are up for renewal again. And I think that's under the belief that we do need a balance of supporting tourism in our town, as well as making sure that we have long-term rentals. And long-term, we are getting long-term rentals built here, including affordable rentals on Shaw Road are in place, and there's 40 units there of people renting there. So we're making good progress, I think, in the long-term rental department, and there will be more coming. I feel that supporting this number of TUPs for short-term rentals is completely reasonable in our town, and it fills a need for tourism, especially when we do have a gap when it comes to hotels here. I think this is something in motels, and it's something like council's all spoken of in the past, so I just want to bring that up again. And I'm looking for a motion to then approve all 25, moved by Councillor Lumley. I see the seconder, Councillor Kroll. Any discussion of the motion? And this we do need the term, right? And the recommended term was 2 years?
Yes.
Yeah.
That would give some time beyond the OCP and zoning update, so that there's clarity going forward once they expire.
Yeah, we'll have the zoning bylaw update in place by the time that it expires for sure. So then, and we'll have some time to communicate to all the operators as well, like what the new zoning bylaw says and what it'll look like going forward. So I just want to clarify that's for 2 years. Yeah. So that, Councillor Andrade.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just concerned with the 2 years because in case the speed of the OCP and the zoning sometimes is not exactly as planned. So my question is, if we set up for 2 years and we need to, is it possible to extend?
No, it's not, and we're hoping to have it in 1 year. I mean, we're hoping to get and I mean, all of 2025, we're looking at getting the zoning bylaw and OCP, so this gives us a whole other year for any kind of delays. Yeah, it might happen, yeah. Any other discussion or questions? All those in favor of the motion carries. Okay, we covered all the direction you need, Kirsten, on this? Yeah, okay. So now we are moving to the Persephone Restoration Project, item 4.2 on the agenda. We're,
Do I have a chance to talk? The TOP?
we granted the chance already, and one person put up his hand.
No, it's just a
Yeah.
very specific. It was, we waited. Is the public available?
It's been approved now. Sorry, it's public? Yeah.
Yeah, the public will view us here.
Yeah, I did grant opportunity to speak. We had one taker.
It was about complaints, right? So.
Yeah, complaints, and then there was an opportunity to respond to complaints too.
This is not a complaint. But this is not a complaint. A general thing, no?
No, there's no general. These are very specific temporary use permits that we're dealing with today for address by address. And we are, so if we're talking about the general approach to short-term rentals in the future, we have, that is the official community plan and zoning bylaw consultations that are happening. Most of those public consultation opportunities have taken place for the first round. Are there any left? Those kind of open houses? Yeah, but we're taking written input on those, and then when we have a draft, some of the draft material, it'll go out to the public again for more input. So watch for, what you need to watch for is OCP/zoning bylaw update process. It's not, there's nothing specific in there to short-term rentals, but it completely pertains to the short-term rental approach that we take in the future, so, yeah. Councillor D'Andrade?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a clarification with regards to online input, OCP online input. Is it the deadline is today, or it has been already?
Through you, Mayor. It closed on the 15th.
Oh, on the?
On the 15th, I believe that was Friday. Yeah.
Okay, that's the official input to the consultant, but if people want to write in to say, you know, what you'd like to see in the future for short-term rentals specifically, we'll definitely take that input and consider it in our zoning bylaw update. And then, and then when some draft material goes out on that, I think we're going to be open to public input again. I'll go to our CIO for the Persephone
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
update.
I also want to acknowledge Ricardo Madrigon is here as well. Ricardo is going to be doing a presentation in a second. The purpose of our update today is just to bring you up to date on the project, the Persephone Restoration Project. I think at the last meeting, Council authorized submitting a grant application for the REDIP program. That application is now in. We're looking to complete a couple more applications for some different programs, including ICT and community forest. The boat restoration itself, continues to happen. It's at the Public Works Yard for the last few months. We've had tremendous support from local business and individuals that have donated materials and time, and it's a bit of a not the greatest weather for painting, but it is nevertheless progressing. And I want to thank Andrew Wood in particular from Spain, who's led a lot of that work, and of course, Councillor Kroll, who's has a lot of knowledge about all the details of the boat restoration aspect. But today, we wanted to just take a bit of time and ask Ricardo if he could come up, just spend the time and sort of he updated the design. That's what's being proposed as the site improvement for receiving the boat once completed. And that's to take place just below our the office here.
Oh, thank you so much. First, I would like to express my enthusiasm for this location. I think it provides an excellent opportunity thank you, to showcase the Persephone boat while also creating a potential accessible pathway to connect to the museum. Let me just see how this. Sorry. I think this will be super easy, but oh.
Maybe I'll do it for you because it's not talking to you.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. So yeah, potentially, it's potentially could be potentially connected from this site up to the museum. So when I first met with Manny Machado, he shared his inspiring vision to design a space where people could experience the Persephone boat from all angles, walking around it, viewing from below and from above, all while ensuring accessibility. So I just love the concept of that. But definitely achieving this vision on a steep hill like this, it was quite challenging. Can we go to the next one, please? Thank you. So the access point to this space is strategically positioned in the middle. To the right, you will find the stairs, and to the left, the accessible pathway. From this entry point, the boat deck sits 6.5 feet above, offering an ideal vantage point for a completely view of the Persephone boat. The design progresses through 3 landings. Can we go to the next one, please? The first landing, located on the east side toward the Madhen restaurant, incorporates a picnic area for visitors to relax and enjoy the surroundings. The second landing provides direct access to the boat, allowing visitors to board and engage with it up close. And the third landing is designed as a pier, creating an immersive experience that evokes the feeling of the boat being on the water. The roof design draws from 4 key inspirations. Can we go to the next one, please? Thank you. One is the timber structure of a boat. The second is a tripod element that links with the Beachcomber TV shows. The concepts come from inspiration from David Kroll. The need of smaller components to minimize foundation size. So we know that we have the aquifer there. And a stadium or umbrella structure to protect the boat from the elements. This roof not only shields the boat, but also ensures unobstructed views, enable visitors to fully appreciate the Persephone boat design and historical significance. Can we go to the next one? Thank you. I strongly believe in integrating this project seamlessly with its surrounding. To enhance usability, I have proposed a long bench. Can we go to the next one, please? Thank you. I have proposed a long bench near the water feature, the existing water feature, where the compass on the floor is. And the bus stop, creating a welcoming and functional space. The history of the Beachcomber TV show should also be accessible and engaging, which is why I suggest to placing information panels in high traffic areas. These panels can spark curiosity and encourage people to explore the space further, which we can see on the image in the middle. For materials, I have chosen a palette that harmonized with the natural and existing environment, natural wood, stone, and metal elements. The design honors the past while embracing the present. A suspended metal structure combined with mass timbers form that primarily structural system, blending modern engineering and timeless aesthetics. This project, it's about connection between past and present, between the community and its heritage, and between cultures. So I look forward to your thoughts and feedback so we can bring this vision to life. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ricardo. Any more from CAO?
Unless you have any questions, Mayor, but that's the update for now.
Okay. Questions from council? Councilor D'Andrade?
Thank you, Mayor. I believe there will be some light to illuminate the boat, and so I wonder if there's an opportunity for solar panels on the flat part of the cover.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think it definitely will be a great idea to have that space with solar panels. And yeah, the illumination, it's like a kind of the next step to design. There are many possibilities of that, but definitely I think it's a great idea to incorporate solar panels, which I just need to confirm that the orientation is the best or not.
I'll look to both of you too. Ricardo, you mentioned minimizing the foundation size in consideration of this location of the aquifer and DPA 9. And yeah, just I'm sure both of you might have some insights into this, but this is really a key issue for council and key issue for costs too, obviously, because if we're trying to, obviously building on the aquifer can be very expensive to make sure it's protected properly. And I just want to ask if you could elaborate on that a bit more.
Certainly, I will have a go. Yeah, we appreciate that concern, and we share that. There are essentially three elements that have to be looked at. I think the first one is the hydrogeology. So we've engaged with Waterline, who has been consulting over the years for us on to better understand what is the cap is made out of, how much depth it has, and its qualities. That will inform then from there the geotech engineer will then, based on that, how much depth we have to work with, and whether it's screw piles or concrete or different type of footing, but it's guided by the hydrogeology. And then the structural then depends on the first two to then ultimately determine, the depth of those pilings or the thickness of the timber and so on. So those three things have to work together. I don't know if you want to add anything else to that, but those are the elements that really those are our next challenges over the next few weeks. That's what we're primarily focused on.
Other questions? Councillor Kroll?
Thank you, Mayor White. When we're talking about aquifer protection, that's one aspect of protection with respect to this project. But the other thing is there is a certain amount of effort being put in to protect the boat. And I think Ricardo's aware of my concerns that, I quite like the design, but I don't think it offers the boat sufficient protection. So, how often do we want to be restoring it? And I think that needs to be considered.
Well, I guess I'll ask about the current restoration too. I mean, I think we all know the condition of the boat before the way it was built was not great for the elements, and then over the years and years it got. But I've assumed that the current restoration is to make it much more resilient to weather, and I just want that. I'm hoping that's confirmed. This isn't. I like the outdoor accessibility of this. I think it's really important that it be easily accessible to people walking by and people visiting, and not behind closed doors. So I mean that's a bit of a trade-off here, that it be outside and in the elements. And I'll just ask if we can.
Maybe I could
that
start.
be elaborated on a bit.
through you, I think Ricardo might want to comment on the functionality of the cover structure is meant to be for the protection of the boat the vast majority of the time from rain and sun. So we are working on the understanding that is what ideally would have an enclosed structure, but I think cost-wise, it's a very different scale of a project if we had to have an enclosed structure, notwithstanding the concerns you raised in terms of accessibility and so on. But I think we all agree a nice, fully protected facility would be ideal, but that's not what we were sort of tasked with. So in terms of the boat itself, it should be able to, if it gets wet, like in a sideways rain winter day, the materials that are being used are, it's sort of, they've got coats of paint and metal works and glass and so on, as if the boat would be outside. So it's as protected as we can with good quality materials, and so we recognize. But I don't think that. So we're doing as much as we can on the boat side of anticipating that it might get wet on some days of the year, and that's just that balance we have to find.
Councillor Lumley?
Yeah, through the mayor, maybe you could ask to expand upon it, but from Councillor Kroll. But I really like this. I actually like it because it can be seen from several different locations. It can be seen from the water. It can be seen from the walkway. I really like this design. And the fact that I'm not sure this is a boat or a prop, because if it's a boat, I mean, I haven't been living here as long as Councillor Kroll, but there's boats going out every day fishing on the water, and I mean, that's I guess what CAO just alluded to. I mean, clearly, the boat's going to be restored to where if it gets hit by some rain, it's going to withstand that. And clearly, there's got to be some sort of maintenance plan in place, right? Just from having a business that's right on the water, of course, like it's a little bit more rugged down there, and you do get the salt and this that blows up from the shore, but it's a matter of maintaining as well. So hopefully, there's a plan for that.
Councillor Thompson?
Thank you, Mayor. I really like this design, in particular the plantings, as you said, that incorporate sort of a feel of water. Would that also be a deterrent for people to be tempted to climb on it, having that planting there?
Yes, it is. And as well to eliminate the need of a handrail there, because the last thing that I wanted is kind of have too many obstruction elements. So it was as well one of the reasons of this shape of the structure is to avoid any obstruction, so we can visualize the boat completely from all the angles. So yeah, we will need it have a handrail or any post at the side. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, yeah. Yeah, I think it's great work as well. I guess one question I had still, I forgot about this one, but we do have, we've put out an estimate on this of the cost to the public of $775,000 for it all in. And obviously for everything as with everything these days, there's some feedback has been, that's really high. And it's, everything we pay for these days is really high. Every cost is just, surprisingly higher to everybody. So that's a factor here. And we are applying for grants that will hopefully help with those costs. But should we not get the grants, is there some scalability to this too? I mean, are we basically going to have to wait until we can get that large amount of money, or can we get this started? I mean, have we thought about that at all with less?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, on our grant, I think we'll do our best to collect as much grant funding as possible. But even in those scenarios, it's likely that the town will need to consider some contribution towards that. But I think, the boat, when it arrives, it will be ready to be shown in that sense. And I think we're confident that we have already both the funds and the commitments to make that happen. A lot of the work on the landscaping aspect of it, it's probably something we could manage to build those ramps and some of those things. The actual the structure itself, and that's probably the most expensive item there. And the engineering type and permitting design process, those are probably the two pricier elements of the project. So we don't want to be in a situation where, well, I guess it would be an option, but where it doesn't look as sharp, but it meets the objective and the boat is placed. But it would be a bit of a missed opportunity if we weren't able to place the cover on it. So I think obviously it all goes together, but we could phase it in some form if necessary. If Ricardo wants to comment.
Thank you. Councillor Lumley?
Could any of this fall into like community amenities? I know there's a number of developments on the books. There's undoubtedly going to be more developments coming in. Is there any thought to that? I know that, again, one of the developments in here, their funds went to Armours Beach. It doesn't have to be directly related to the site that it's on. I was wondering if this might be a home for some of that money.
Yep. I think it could qualify for that if council wants to pursue that in a future development. Yeah. Okay. That's a good suggestion. So our next meeting of council is, thank you, Ricardo, December 3rd, 2024 at 3:30 p.m. And I'm looking for a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Kroll, seconded by Councillor Thompson. All those in favor? The meeting is adjourned.
I hope you're feeling as intending